What if you had 15 minutes a day to read something you really enjoy, that made you laugh, that made you cry, that just gave you a moment to breathe?
You might be a better person because of it. The art of reading and how it's bringing people all across North Carolina together in the Buckley Report.
With the proliferation of social media, you might think the art of reading is dead, but the best estimates from a company called BookScan show Americans bought more than 1 billion books last year, including 900 million old-fashioned print books.
And as you'll see in tonight's Buckley Report, the idea that people are hiding away in some corner by themselves reading turns out to be its own form of fiction.
In a world of bite-sized chunks of media and entertainment, the technology invented 550 years ago still thrives.
I guess we'll go ahead and get started.
This is one of dozens of local, well, chapters, if you will, of the North Carolina Humanities program, NC Reads.
So we're here, obviously, today to talk about Welcome to the Circus of Baseball by Ryan McGee.
Each year, they choose 5 books that have North Carolina connections and provide free copies to the local groups to read and then discuss over a cookie and a cup of coffee. The idea came during the pandemic.
We're in the middle of an epidemic of loneliness and being disconnected from others.
The act of reading itself is solitary, but that's not the goal here, according to North Carolina Humanities Director Sherry Paula Watkins.
And we need a way for people and a good excuse for people to get together.
And just talking not just about the books, but talking about the stories and feelings and experiences that the act of reading evokes. Anybody want to get us started about how they responded to this book?
I found myself just laughing out loud at times. It's very funny. Great writing.
I think the real gift of this program is not just, okay, now isn't it great we've read 5 books, but it's having read 5 books, we've come together and just talked face to face.
Including, in the case of Winston-Salem writer Phoebe Zerwick's book, Beyond Innocence, The Life Sentence of Darrell Hunt, subjects like systemic racism, things people don't want to talk about.
Mass incarcerations, things people don't want to talk about and that are hard to talk about. I deal with it as a story, as a really human story.
As she reads from her book,
he heard each of the jurors affirm their verdict, and once again he stared at the state seal on the judge's bench, determined that these lying fools would never see him cry.
It takes you to a place most of us are not likely to ever go.
By evening, Hunt was back in prison, a place that to Hunt smelled of death. If Hunt regretted turning down the plea deal that would have set him free, he didn't say.
But it is the story of a man's angst that is universal, told in a way we can all relate to. No small thing.
We are a storytelling species. And before we could read, before we wrote, before we did anything that we think of now as media or communication, we told stories.
And their value is higher than ever.
In times that sometimes feel isolating, sometimes feel divisive, sometimes the simplest of things, like putting a story in people's hands, has pure and unquestionable power and virtue.
Bob Buckley, Fox 8 News.
Oh, yeah.
After reading and discussing each book, NC Reads holds a statewide session on YouTube to discuss the book with its author.